Another shooting in a gun-free zone, shooting at the Covenant Christian School in Nashville. Roll the thing. What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about the shooting at the Covenant Christian School in Nashville that happened last week. Let's get right into it. All right, a little background on this shooting. We had a 28-year-old shooter who fatally shot 3 adults and 3 children at the Covenant Christian School in Nashville. What a scumbag. She was apparently under care for an emotional disorder, and she had bought 7 firearms that she had hidden around her apartment. Her parents didn't know these firearms. They knew about one, only one, that she had bought and sold. They weren't aware of the other 6, apparently. The day of the shooting, the shooter sent a childhood friend an ominous Instagram message that says, I quote, "I'm planning to die today. One day this will make more sense. I've left more than enough evidence behind, but something bad is about to happen." This friend called a suicide prevention line at about 10:13 that morning to report the friend, I guess. Might have been better to call the police, but this is what she did. At least she did something. So apparently the shooter had detailed maps of the school, meaning she had been there prior. There were reports that said that she had attended that school as a child, so that's maybe how those came about. So the shooter, when she conducted a rampage, had 3 weapons. A Kel-Tec type weapon. I don't know if it's an exact Kel-Tec, but it looks an awful lot like a Kel-Tec. She also had an AR type weapon, and she also had a pistol on her. So let's go ahead and dive in right into the video. So here we see her driving her Honda Fit. That's a Honda Fit right there. She's driving it past looks like a group of people talking at the bottom of the screen there, having a conversation. And the camera goes to a second view. Parking lot looks fairly large from this view. I want you to take notice of the downhill embankment past the first lanes of parking spots. And based on photos that I've seen, this is where she actually parks, down that embankment in that second row of parking spaces, which appear to be some distance away from the front door. In this third video footage, you see the driver pulling around to the end of the parking lot, and off to the side, off to the right side of the screen there, you see a group of children playing. It's kind of scary. All she had to do was roll down her window and start blasting those kids. Thankfully, she didn't do that. I assume she didn't do that because she didn't want to give away her position. Had she do that, the people inside would have known something was up, and shooters want maximum casualties in the quickest amount of time. So that would have messed up her plans if she would have done that. Now here we are 15 minutes later at the front door. So what she was doing for those 15 minutes, we're not too sure. It's unclear. Presumably gearing up, loading weapons. After all, she had one slung, was carrying another rifle, and had a pistol, so it would have taken some time to put all that gear on. I find it hard to believe no one out there saw this for her 15 minutes gearing up in her car. Maybe they did. I don't know. But one thing is clear, she did have to cross 40 to 50 feet from that parking space all the way to the front door. I don't know if there's other cameras out front or what, and they're just not showing that footage, but I find it hard to believe that somebody didn't see her crossing that parking lot. So she's shooting out the front doors. Let me pause. One thing's clear. There is 0 security mesh, security film on these front doors. They just shatter, completely shattered. Had these doors had security film on the glass or the wire mesh that you can put in the windows, they wouldn't have shattered so quickly, and that would have slowed her down at least some, giving law enforcement time to respond, giving those victims inside time to take action inside the building. It appears she used her AR to shatter the glass. Here she is crawling on the doors. Now here she is in the hallway, still with the AR, and she goes out of view. When she comes back into view, though, she's using her Kel-Tec. She could have had a malfunction with that AR, and this shows me her inexperience with these firearms. ARs are prone to malfunction if the shooter doesn't know what they are doing. 90% of those malfunctions are shooter-induced, so it's very reasonable to me to think that she had a malfunction with this AR and switched her Kel-Tec. Now for you law enforcement guys, look how this shooter is moving. casually walking down the hallway, just looking around. When she goes into the room, look what she does. I'm going to pause it here. She doesn't look into the corner of the room for a whole second or two and just walks about aimlessly searching for victims. When she comes out of doorways, she's just walking out, not looking left, not looking right. Zero tactics involved. You know how I know the shooter is inexperienced? One, she's aimlessly wandering around. Two, she's wearing snow camouflage in an urban environment. Once again, when she's exiting rooms, she's doing so untactically. So look how she enters this last doorway here. Just bolts right into the center of the room. Now, for you law enforcement folks, this should catch your attention, tactically speaking. All right, now let's take a look at the law enforcement response. I will say these guys are cold as ice. They got ice water in their veins. These guys drive into this situation. These guys kick ass and take names. Here we got Rex Engelbert armed with a rifle. Let me pause this here. His name is Rex Engelbert. Badass. So obviously he got some keys from a staff member and he's using these to get into the doors. Very reasonable to assume that these outer doors should have been locked. This is why the shooter shot her way into the building. For law enforcement folks, you're going to need to find those keys from a staff member before you can enter the building. So that's something to think about, something to consider. I need 3. So Rex is asking for 3 more officers. Okay, this isn't mandatory. It's not mandatory to wait for 3 officers. I don't think many agencies in the country have a protocol that they need to wait. As a matter of fact, given recent events, a single officer can make entry into a building, but it's very reasonable for him to wait for 3, especially that he knows there's other officers there. So he wants that 3. He wants 3 more officers. That way he can have a 4-man team. I find 4-man team is very beneficial to operate in. You can cover angles better. You can split up the work. You have more firepower to take on the shooter, and you have a rear guard, which is very beneficial when you're bypassing those doors. What's better than 1 gun? 2. What's better than 2? 4. So as they make their way into the school, you can hear the school alarm sounding. So this is going to make communication more difficult. Also provides these officers the element of surprise, speed, surprise, violence of action. So that alarm system is going to cover the sound as they move through the hallway. So it kind of has a double-edged sword there. So Rex is going to open the main door and allow another officer to go in. I like this method. We teach this. Having an officer open the door for another officer, especially an officer armed with a Cobain like this officer, he's going to be able to focus on that room entry. He's going to be able to focus on getting through that door and not have to split his attention with opening the door. Some tactical teams have different methods of entering rooms. I like this method for guys we might not have ever worked with before. You grab that door for that officer, and if that officer's committed, he's going to focus on getting through that door, which is an important element. Please! So here we see him moving down the hallway. They're communicating well. You hear him calling out doors. And one of the officers says, "On me." He has the presence of mind to wait outside that room and wait for a partner. That way they can make a 2-officer room entry, which is like one of the rules that we teach at our class. 2 officers per room. Room entries are very dangerous. So he waited. He had that presence of mind to wait for that other officer. Here's another thing I like right off the bat. This officer recognized that this was a corner-fed room, and he utilized a corner-fed room technique to clear that deep corner first. That's awesome. This shows me that this officer is trained. Metro Police, open the door! Bathroom, small bathroom. Clear. So I want to pause this here. This is very interesting to me. I want you to look on the wall here. This right here is a Barracuda intruder defense device. We actually sell these on our website. This is the DSI model. We sell the DSI-2. I don't know which model this is. There's 5 models depending on the door width that you have in your facility. We sell the DSI-2 on our website. That fits most doors, but this is very interesting to me that to see this in this building hung on the wall. So these devices can be slid under the door and will stop an inward swinging door from opening. These are very effective devices, and I'm very happy to see that this school had these. Next, let's go. So if we pause it right here again, you're going to see another Barracuda intruder defense device hanging on the wall of the other classroom. Nobody was in these classrooms after all. Maybe they evacuated, or maybe they're in another part of the building and they didn't have to utilize these. But again, very happy to see that this school had these devices. Again, we see the officers recognizing the corner-fed room and checking that unknown corner. Again, this shows me that these officers were trained. So here we see these officers are checking every room they can. At this point, I don't think they know where the shooter is, so they are going slow and methodical. I would like to see a change in the tactics used by officers. If we don't know where the shooter is, it's our job to find that shooter as fast as possible. Yes, we may bypass doors, and the shooter could be in one of those rooms that we bypassed, but we need to go and search of destruction. Once we find that area that destruction has occurred in, we can start our methodical search in that area, because shit, something has happened here. The shooter has been here. We need to start our search here. Could the shooter pop up behind us? Yes, but that's why a rear guard, an effective rear guard, is so important. That's why I like 4-man teams. You can have that dedicated rear guard. As these officers are coming out of this room, you see the other officers waiting for them to come out. They're eating this pie a slice at a time. This is okay. If these officers were trained together and they were more effective, they could split up, but there's a danger in that as well. You could have your blue on blue. So I have no problem with these guys waiting. They're taking on this shit sandwich together as a team.
Move right. Cover left. Cover left.
So here we see the officers recognizing that the gunfire is coming from upstairs, and they immediately head that way versus the slow clearing. So they immediately switch gears, go direct to threat to that sound of gunfire. The officer on the stairs here is waiting for the guy with the rifle. Old Rex has a rifle here. He knows that. He has the presence of mind to let the rifle go first. I want to point out that you're not always going to be able to do this. This is a luxury. If you have the presence of mind to do that and someone has a rifle, yes, a rifle can be more effective, and letting that person go first could be beneficial, but that's not always going to happen. If you got a pistol, you got a threat, you're going to need to go to work. So don't be scared to go to work just because another guy has a rifle. But if you have the presence of mind to do that and you have that opportunity, why not let the guy with the rifle go? All right, these officers are going down the hallway on the second floor, direct to threat. They know where the gunfire is coming from or the general area. They're bypassing doorways. You can see Rex kind of plugging doorways, but they're not totally ignoring these doorways. He's plugging them, but he knows where he's going. He's driving towards the sound of that gunfire. Rex knows that this threat is in a specific area, so he's splitting his attention on these other doorways because he's gambling. He's assuming that the shooter is where the gunfire is coming from. He can give up some of these doorways and move a little bit quicker towards the sound of that gunfire. I think it's interesting to point out here, there are other officers with rifles that we see, but they're kind of lagging behind. This could be due to fear, lack of training, or inexperience. We don't know. But we see this every so often in these kinds of events, that there's going to be some officers that don't either know what to do, or scared to do something, or they're just lagging behind. They're not going to direct to threat. But Rex recognizes this, and he drives right past them. All right, now we have the main 3 officers in a group, the ones that are driving the group with violence of action. These guys are pressing that threat using speed, surprise, and violence of action. And this is really the main 3 officers that are driving this entire response here. But here we have Officer Collazo. He's on the right there. He recognizes that Rex has the rifle. He again is telling Rex to go first because a rifle is more powerful, more accurate sometimes, and he recognizes that. He has a presence of mind to say, go first, you're going to go first. He allows Rex to enter that danger area first. These officers are in a modified kind of T-shaped formation. They're spread out using that shooter's dilemma concept. We don't want to bunch up into a single unit. That way we become an easier target. They are spread out just in case the shooter gets a beat on them. She's going to have to choose which one of these guys am I going to shoot first. And that's just messing with her OODA loop, giving these officers 1 split second more advantage against this shooter. And as they come up to this T-shaped hallway, we got double direction threat areas to the left and the right. Rex identifies this, and he hears the gunfires coming to the right there. So he uses a cross cover method. He knows that he's going to have a better angle to the right if he goes left, and he has a presence of mind to do that. And again, this just tells me that these officers are trained. Rex recognizes that T shape and utilizes the cross covers to gain angles and engages without over penetrating into that danger area. So Rex utilizes that safe. You're going to hear the safe come off, and he's going to give that shooter some ballistic therapy from behind. And he's going to put that safety right back on, and his team waits as he does this. They have the presence of mind to know he's engaging. They're not going to over penetrate into his line of fire, into that danger area. They allow him to engage, and I love it. He utilizes that safety right back on. Team recognizes the engagement and waits for clearance into that danger area. Team advances with other officers lagging behind. You can see the officers lagging behind there. These officers had no choice but to be in a support capacity. They're in the back, they're in the rear, and they can't really get into the fight, so they're just kind of hanging out. They're essentially letting others do the work. Collazo here fires 4 more rounds at the shooter. The shooter is moving. We shoot to stop. We're going to shoot until that threat stops, and that shooter was obviously moving with a weapon in her hand or going for a weapon. He shot 4 more times to stop that threat from moving. So as these officers approach, they're looking for work, working those angles, performing good contact and cover, and they're communicating what needs to be done after this point.
Second floor.
Here we see Collazo, Officer Collazo. He's hearing the gunfire. He knows it's upstairs, so he's going to try to go to immediately the second floor, but he's going to find that the door is locked, so they have to go back downstairs.
First floor, first floor, first floor. Hold there, y'all. Somebody hold there.
Now this officer with the rifle, with the blue shirt, he seems a little hesitant, doesn't he? Collazo opens the door, presumably to let the rifle go first, but the guy with the blue shirt and the rifle stalls here. Collazo tells the guy rifle first, and from the last footage we saw that he has the presence of mind. This is Officer Collazo. We know that he has the presence of mind. The blue shirt stalls again in the doorway until he sees further penetrated officers down the hall, and then he runs to join them. So you saw he stalled right there in the doorway. He might be lack of experience, lack of training, or he's scared. But once he sees those officers that are penetrated further down the hallway, he hurries up and he joins the group. All right, here Collazo joins the shotgun man and bypasses Engelbert holding the hallway. You see Engelbert holding that long hallway while he bypasses and joins the guy with the Cobain. So here Collazo touches the shotgun man to let him know that he has a partner. So we like touching. Touching feels good. We know our partner's there. Oh shit, now I can go to work with a partner. 2 guns are better than 1. So once shotgun man feels that squeeze, that little tab, oh, my partner's here, he penetrates further and they go and take another room together. So at this point, Collazo knows that the shooting's coming from upstairs, and he's going to hold that long hallway with a rolling block while he tells the team to hit the stairs. They know the shooting is coming from up the stairs at this point, so he's holding that long hallway and allowing his team to go behind him. That way, if something pops out in the hallway, he's gonna block his team while they make entry into that stairwell.
Keep pushing. Go.
Here we see a body in the hallway. They're going to bypass this body to go straight to the threat. What good is it going to be if we stop for everybody? We just can't do that. We got to go and stop the threat.
Right.
There's some slight flagging here as they round this hallway. Shotgun man's in front. He does flag him a little bit. You can tell he does try to lower that muzzle and not flag his partner, so he does have the presence of mind. Again, this shows me that these officers are trained, but there was a little bit of flagging, but I can't ding him for this. They're balls deep in this shit sandwich, so shit's gonna happen. Here we see Collazo's point of view. He recognizes that Engelbert, who is to his left, has the rifle. And you're going to hear Collazo say, push in LPVO. I think that's what he says. Push in LPVO. Push in LPVO.
Push with LPVO. Push with LPVO.
What this means, if I'm correct, is this is a low power variable optic. So essentially he's telling the rifle that he knows has an optic, low power variable optic, to make entry first. And he has the presence of mind to do that. Again, you're not always going to have that luxury.
Right.
So here we see Engelbert engage from another angle, and they're going to join up down that corner. and you're going to see Collazo engage the shooter again.
Stop moving! Stop moving!
Okay, Collazo's getting on the radio before disarming the suspect, so there's no rush here. There's no rush to get on the radio. Make sure that that threat is down and disarmed before you get on the radio. No rush there. This is just a minor factor, though. I don't have too much of a problem with this. Here we hear another officer requesting for guys doing nothing to provide security. So he knows there's a bunch of officers standing around, and he's asking you guys to provide security while we try to accomplish our satisfactory law enforcement conclusion, which is cuffing the suspect. Here we see the shooter 10-7. She's buckled up, obviously suffering from lead poisoning. At this point, the shooter's ghost is probably rising up out of her body, and you can bet your ass these group of 10-8 officers are going to engage that ghost if that ghost is armed too. If there wasn't any high-fiving after this point, there should have been, because these officers did awesome. They were driving the action, setting the tone for the other officers, utilizing speed, surprise, violence of action, engaging with correct, proper use of force, using good tactics, working the angles, working well as a team, and communicating effectively. I am very happy with this response, and I'm guessing the American public is too. They did an amazing job. There's always things we can learn from these videos. This is why I'm making this video. There's another aspect to this. I don't usually show videos with the shooter, but I wanted everybody to see the tactics the shooter used, because there is something to learn here. We have options, guys. The victims of these shootings do have options. If we look at this particular shooter, we see that she was untrained, and we can use that to our advantage against these people that want to commit these cowardly acts. That's the end of the video, guys. If you like the video, hit that like, subscribe, and notification buttons down below if you're watching it on YouTube. And if you want to get trained up, we have courses for both civilians and law enforcement teaching these very same things that we just discussed in this video. If you want more information on the courses that we offer, go to www.activeshooteramerica.com. Also, I wrote a book. It's called Life Tactics. It's for those civilians, those unarmed people that might find themselves in the danger area in an active shooter situation. If you've taken one of my courses in the past, or you want to learn more about active shooter response, what you can do to help yourself survive these types of events, go to www.lifetacticsbook.com and get your copy now.